I'd like to welcome our panelists for the next session to the stage and introduce Terry Lefton, editor-at-large Sports Business Journal, who will be moderating the panel. Terry, a pioneer of sports business reporting, has been the editor-at-large at Sports Business Daily and Sports Business Journal since 2001, owner of an expansive Rolodex and the confidant of hundreds of well-placed industry sources. Lefton is well known for breaking news stories across the sports marketing landscape. He built a reputation as the leading reporter in sports marketing while at Brand Week from 1990 through 2000, when he left the weekly marketing magazine to write about marketing and sports business for the industry standard. Lefton is a founding board member of the National Sports Marketing Network. There we go.
Thanks so much. Am I on? Can you hear me? There we go. I think my wife must have written that, but thank you for the intro. From my welcome to the sort of the marketing green panel, and from my left to my right, Megan Eisenhard, VP West Region at Learfield Sports, Hector Scarano, VP Sales and Marketing, Andretti Autosports, Janette, Micelli, Manager of External Communications at Waste Management, and Erin, Schrode, co-founder of Turning Green. We're activating the next generation of fans, engaging millennials through sustainability. When we talk about, or when I talk about millennials, I thought it'd be useful to define, because there seemed to be, in doing my research, a lot of lack of clarity in terms of what exactly they are. So when we talk about them today, when I talk about them at least, I'll be referring to people born between the years of 1980 and 2000, which means the younger members are not out of high school yet. They don't recall a time that the internet wasn't ubiquitous, and speaking as a baby boomer, I will ask rhetorically, why are we paying such attention to them, other than the fact marketers haven't really been able to reach them very effectively yet? Answer, well, they're there. They're there in huge numbers now. They're out there. There's 75.3 million millennials. They've recently surpassed baby boomers as the largest generation. By 2020, they'll be nearly half the workforce, and they'll be spending $1.4 trillion annually. They're expected to inherit somewhere around $30 billion from the generations that came before them. So that's why we're up here, see if we have any answers to how to reach them. Anyone that knows me will tell you that I'm a contrarian by nature, so I will begin with a debate on the panel's premise. Are millennials really more in tune with the environment? Everyone's in tune with the environment, but is this generation really more in tune? Hey, I'm a baby boomer. We invented Earth Day. Tell me we don't care about the environment. So, Erin, I thought this was a good one to start you with. No one out there is going to say I don't care about the environment, but millennials more so?
Yeah, dare I say. I'm a millennial. I was born in 1991. I am 24 years old, and we've grown up in a time of eco-renaissance, in a time where green, eco, climate change is very real. And I think because of the power of these little guys, because of the power of technology and digital communication, the impact, the realities, the gravity of environmental degradation, of climate change, is omnipresent. We can look at it and see what is happening. We know the cause and effect. We're hearing the numbers, but also just growing up in a time, organic food is available, recycling. These aren't changes that we've had to make. These are built into our DNA. This is how we were raised. These are things that we've been aware of, that have been in the news, in the media since day one. So you're talking about a generation that's grown up with the buzzwords of the time. And I'm happy to see that they've stuck. As your, resident green girl, it's nice to see that, yeah, my peers get it. We're not so set in our ways that we think we have to make these changes. It's in our DNA.
Okay. I neglected to say at the outset that, once again, I'm a baby boomer. I believe in the old kind of interactivity, which is you ask questions, we answer. So there are some helpers out there handing out, they have index cards. If you have a question, you will write them down, not text, not email. You will write down the question, and they will hand them to me, shocking as that seems. Megan, let's continue that one. Because you are connected to college campuses. You are at the younger end of that millennial demo. Are they actually more in tune? Do they actually show more support? I would have to agree that, you know, they've grown up with not only the internet being ubiquitous, but the whole climate change thing being ubiquitous.
Oh,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think I could say it any better than Erin did. She was.
That's why I'm going to ask you to anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Technology, I think, plays a huge factor. And from what I understand, millennials are very visceral and very image-driven versus, you know, reading. And so I think they can see there's a lot more tangible things going on in the environment right now as well. So I think they've just been more exposed from a younger age. And so they've grown up knowing that there are sustainability challenges and things that they need to do to get this place better. So
Okay. Do you believe that they will, I mean, they don't have as much money as the generation before them yet. They will.
which is why everyone's targeting them.
Right. But do you believe they are supporting them to a greater degree now?
I think they're doing what they can, and I think it's more of a grassroots movement as well for them because they don't have the money and they don't have the resources, but they will at some point. So if we can reach them now, I think that shows that our future is a lot brighter.
Okay. You've been at it for a while.
Yes.
What can you tell me about reaching this generation versus the prior generation in this sphere?
We're still learning.
Yeah.
You know, from a sports sponsorship, which is what our company does, you know, we're always testing new ways of how to reach this generation. And, you know, if you know sponsorships, traditionally we've done signage and radio. Radio was a huge part of what our company did 10 years ago, and now it's moving so quickly to digital and social media. And so that we have to get with the times and start learning how to reach these people. And it's not your old ways, it's the new ways. But I'd say in the last 2 to 3 years, our company has almost quadrupled our digital workforce because we know that that's where it's going. So.
Okay. Janette, your company, Waste Management, kind of has to be in this space, but 30,000 foot or maybe even higher, how big is this opportunity? You know, we'll get to a little while. There's sort of a cross-functional problem here between building people and sponsorship people within sports. But how big is this opportunity, do you think, across sports?
It's huge.
Yeah.
You know, we're an environmental solutions company, and a lot of these millennials are really out there advocating and sharing the messages that we're sharing. You know, they are a huge potential workforce for us. I mean, our talent acquisition team, we're on college campuses all the time, at career fairs. We're engaging with this great group of people, and they're passionate. They want to come work for a company that's not only just handling your waste, but diverting through recycling and composting and getting to zero waste at events, greening campuses, greening communities. You know, the sports world, lots of opportunities there.
Erin, you would have me believe that your generation would not buy products or services from companies they don't perceive as being green enough. Has that been actually shown yet in research?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it has. I think price is definitely a factor. It's been a factor, particularly even more so in the past, few years
Sure.
for us. But I know when I first started talking about millennials sort of pre-recession, yeah, if you show people two products and they were in a certain, close price index, absolutely. Same price, we're going to choose the sustainable option. What she was saying about, hiring, if I can just piggyback on that. I don't know a friend that walks into a job interview and doesn't ask about environmental and social programs or isn't aware of that. And that's been something even just on websites. I've heard from so many companies that now you have to put that on there, that people are challenging my generation, our generation, because I know that there's a lot of my peers in the audience, is going into the workforce, right? These are what we want to do. It's hard for us to separate our personal and professional values. So it's nice to know that there are companies like Waste Management, but other companies that might not have such a direct connection to the environment, absolutely also looking at those programs.
Okay. Hector, I want to get to one of your individual programs in a second, but before, same kind of 30,000-foot question. In terms of what the opportunity is, because God forbid, any sport needs a green footprint, it would be yours, right, motorsports? So.
Yeah, motorsports in general has not been the most environmentally friendly sport. That goes without saying, but I think that when we start looking at engaging millennials through what it is that we do in particular at Andretti, and we'll talk a little bit more about it in detail here in short order about our participation in the Formula E series. But our interaction with millennials comes through our implementation of technology in the series, in Formula E, That's how we're contributing to the greening of motorsports. We are testing out new technologies in competition throughout the world, with the overall focus on having these technologies that are being proven out on a race course with cars traveling close to 170 miles an hour, that those technologies will then filter down into cars that you and I and millennials will be driving. That's how we're contributing to this overall movement.
Okay. At the risk of making you the spokesman for the entire motorsports industry, but you're the only person up here, so you are. What do people, I mean, you know, as you said, we'll talk about the E-Series in a second, but across motorsports, what are they thinking about their future if we're accepting this premise that the generation they expect to be their next generation of core fans is more and more green? What are they thinking about their future in this regards?
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, series, perhaps with the exception of the Formula E series, there are challenges that the entire industry is facing. I mean, I can say that whether you're talking about NASCAR, whether you're talking about IndyCar, or any of the other forms of more traditional motorsport competition globally, there are significant challenges because the on-track product, what it is that is bringing fans to the sport, by nature is not very environmentally friendly. So the programs that we have to institute, the track owners need to institute, the promoters need to institute that support the overall on-track competition, those programs are in a sense affecting change on their own. We understand that as an industry we need to do more, and it brings me back again to what Formula E is doing. Formula E is really at the genesis of a transformative time in professional racing, in the sense that we are talking through millennials. We're trying to engage millennials that are more technologically savvy, that they are more attuned with environmental initiatives, and as a result, you know, we're talking here 1 week after the inaugural season of the Formula E Championship concluded in London. So we do have a long way to go, but we've started, and that's what's important.
All right, I'm going to give you the Formula E soapbox after one more question.
Sure.
But I'm going to make you the industry spokesman again before that. Who's out there? Where are y'all? Where is the industry-wide? Where do you think they are on the continuum of where they want to be, where they should be, where they are in terms of environmentalism?
Well, again, there are certain...
You said it's pretty diverse, right?
Well, it is very diverse, but again, we're facing some serious challenges in the sense that the nature of our sport is that we burn fuel and we burn rubber.
Right.
That is what we do. Right. But getting back to Formula E, I think that Formula E really is at the forefront of a new movement in racing. I can't look into a crystal ball and tell you where NASCAR will be in 10 to 15 years. I can't tell you where IndyCar will be in 10 to 15 years. Formula One. But when you start looking at those more traditional forms of motorsport, you'll see that they have implemented series-wide certain technologies to lessen the impact and to lessen the carbon footprint. For example, in Formula One, the motors now, the engines are actually called power units. They're actually a hybrid combination of hybrid power versus traditional combustible engine power. So the industry is moving in the right direction, but I'll be the first one to tell you that we have a long ways to go.
Okay, now clearly Formula E was a move in the right direction. So tell me a little bit about the genesis. And then as soon as he's done talking about that, let's play his video. But tell me about how it came to be, and then after the video, we can talk about the season that's just been completed. Yeah.
So Formula E is sanctioned by the FIA, which is the world governing body of professional motorsport. It's the same sanctioning body that sanctions Formula One. And it's made up, the parent company of the series is Formula E Holdings, based out of London. And the goal of the series was to start a truly global championship whereby the cars, and you'll see here in the video shortly, that the cars, although they look like traditional open wheel racing cars, they're powered exclusively by electric power. The first year consisted of 10 races. We raced in circuits in Malaysia, in Uruguay, in Miami, London, Berlin. This year, like I said, it was 10 events. We've heard already from Formula E that they've been petitioned by over 180 cities globally to host events. So we expect, as a result of that, we expect the series to grow exponentially. I think ideally within the next 5 years, we'll have a 20-race calendar conservatively. And really the genesis of the series, the reason that we have Formula E is to promote electric vehicles globally and to promote the technology that makes these cars run. And it's interesting to see. I mean, I've seen it firsthand that millennials have really engaged with what it is that we're doing on track, because no longer are electric vehicles uncool. In fact, electric vehicles are really damn cool, and they're really fast. And
How fast?
This inaugural season, they hit speeds in excess of 150, 155 miles an hour. Within 5 years, we'll be racing at close to 200 miles an hour. To put it in comparison, at Indianapolis and IndyCar, we're doing in excess of 240 miles an hour. So we're moving in the right direction. But as you'll see here in this short clip, where we're racing in Formula E, we're racing in city centers. We're not racing in ovals like in Indianapolis out in the middle of nowhere. Here we're bringing racing to the people, and we're allowing people to engage with the on-track product. So what we have here is actually a presentation that was put together by Formula E. It's an overview of the series, but in the interest of time, I think we're only going to play about 1.5 minutes of it. If anybody in the audience is interested in actually seeing the entire 5-minute presentation, feel free to come up and I'll send you the link afterwards. But I think we...
let's see the
For
clip.
the first season, Formula E will race in 9 cities across the globe. The series began in Beijing in September 2014 and will finish in London on June 27, 2015. The Spark Renault SRT-01E has been built and designed by the French-based firm Spark Racing Technology, together with a consortium of the leading names in motorsport, including Renault, McLaren, Williams, Dallara, and Michelin. All drivers use identically fully electric single-seaters, which are powered by a 200 kilowatt or 270 brake horsepower lithium-ion battery linked to a 5-speed paddle shift transmission. It can accelerate from 0 to 62 miles an hour in 3 seconds and go on to a top speed of 140 miles an hour. Despite what many may think, the car does produce sound, peaking at around 80 decibels, more than a road car travelling at 70 miles an hour. Races take place all in one day to minimise disruption to the host city. Drivers begin with 2 practice sessions, 45 minutes and 30 minutes, followed by a qualifying shootout. This is a straight fight for the fastest lap time and sees drivers hit the track in 4 groups of 5 cars. The group order is picked using a lottery system chosen earlier in the day. The race, or E-Prix, lasts approximately 50 minutes and requires drivers to make at least 1 mandatory pit stop in order to change cars.
Well, that's a little bit about what we do.
You've been to all these, I assume.
Yes.
Biggest, probably less noise, but other than that, biggest difference between Formula E and an IRL or F1 race?
I'll tell you, it's really interesting you say that, because our sister company, Andretti Sports Marketing, was actually hired by Formula E to promote the Miami round of the inaugural championship. And I've been in racing now for 20 years, and I have never seen so many young kids at a racetrack as I did in Miami with their families. So it really made us proud that the theme of the series, which is engaging families, engaging millennials through this varied form of motorsport, was actually proving out. And we could actually see that. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to a racing track when open wheel race cars race in a city center, but it's a loud environment. It's not a very comfortable environment. You and I couldn't have this conversation as cars are whizzing by at 170 miles an hour. But in Formula E, you can do that. The cars will fly by you, but it's a whisper. And it's a much more friendly, family-friendly environment.
Okay. Bottom line question: where are they in terms of turning a profit? I mean, you have a team. You're not the circuit. I understand.
We're not the series. We're one of 10 teams.
But what they must be telling you. So.
They are, but I can't share that.
Is it a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year?
I can tell you that the series has made a commitment to the individual teams for the long haul. This is real. This is really real. There's nothing else like it out there. As I mentioned previously, we've just concluded the inaugural season. The television metrics and attendance metrics were through the roof, which is fantastic when you're talking to potential sponsors.
Okay.
And we're really, really excited for what the future holds.
The test is always the non-endemics. So how have you done in terms of non-endemic sponsorships? Are they listening yet?
Yeah, they are listening. You know, it's interesting. There's a lot of, in Formula E, there's a lot of interest from non-traditional motorsports sponsors, companies that historically have shied away from racing for one reason or another. They just didn't think that maybe motorsports was in their wheelhouse, or didn't know exactly how to use motorsports as a business and marketing endeavor. We've seen a lot of interest. I wish I could share with you some of the companies that will be participating with the Andretti next year. I thought that we would have those contracts signed by today, but they're still being negotiated.
I never hear that.
But it's some really interesting and new companies that see extraordinary value in marketing in this form of racing. Those same companies wouldn't in a million years look at what we're doing in IndyCar, or what we're doing in global rallycross, or what we're doing in any other form of motorsport.
Well, were there any from the first season that you can tell me about? Non-endemics?
No.
Okay. So you weren't. Yeah, I understand that, because you had to show them. You had to show them what you were about.
But stay tuned. I think that there's some really
Will do.
going to be, and not only that, but we're hearing also that starting either in season, potentially, most likely in season 3. The seasons are different than in traditional racing. We race from October through June, where most racing is in the spring and summer. Right. You're going to see interest from a lot of OEMs globally. Okay. And probably by the third year, you're going to see anywhere between 3 to 5 OEMs involved in the sport.
Look forward to seeing it. Okay, turning away from the racetrack for a second. Janette, I thought that the Waste Management Open is a pretty good case study of what you can do within an event. I mean, it's a pretty large event. So tell us a little bit about how you've developed it over the years, and you have a whole bunch of programs overlapping there. So tell us a little bit about that, because I don't think golf is necessarily known as the most green sport, even though it's green by its nature, right? So, but you've done a pretty good job of making that a platform for the company, right?
Yeah, so earlier this year, it was our 6th title sponsorship of the Phoenix Open. We actually announced in December we're coming back for 10 more, so that's really exciting. But when we initially came to the golf course, it was your standard waste receptacle and your recycling receptacle. And then as we morphed through the years, we said, you know what, we need to make this a zero waste event. This absolutely needs to be a case study of how you can do everything green and everything right. There's lots of dynamics and partnership and collaboration that goes into that, but as part of our zero waste challenge, we removed every single trash can from the course, only recycling and compost bins, about 6,000 pairs of these, solar power compactors, smart energy compactors, and a very engaged operations and sustainability services team that came in there. We work with all the sponsors and the vendors, make sure all of the materials that you're either eating food off of or drinking from are all compliant within the system, and it takes a lot of work. It's much like what many of you face out there with greening your stadiums and being more sustainable, but as far as serving the tournament, compressed natural gas trucks actually move the materials from the event. We've got recycling ambassadors out there helping people make decisions on which bin to use.
I needed one of those today.
Yeah, I know. We have zero waste stations. We actually repurposed a large construction roll-off container that you'd see and made them into these little interactive stations to where the fans can come up, talk to our volunteers, they can learn about the system, especially if they're not used to it at home. And again, then this whole system is designed for this large event, largest attended on the PGA Tour, 564,000 people in 7 days. And every day, we have to make sure it's looking great, turn it over overnight, they come the next day, and it's amazing. And a lot of people don't really realize that as soon as the first scaffolding, scrim, grandstand, all of that material, when that build out starts in either late October to early November, we track it until about 6 weeks after the tournament. So people are always asking, well, how'd you do? Well, we know we got 100% diversion. Nothing went to a landfill, but we are very accountable to ourselves, and then we have third parties who are also, telling us that. So we work with ULE, the Council for Responsible Sport. They go through all of that information to certify that we're indeed a zero waste event.
Okay. So 6 years in, 10 years more to go, I guess. Lessons learned so far?
Lots of lessons learned. Initially we had recycling ambassadors all around the course. We gave them some brief training, but what we found is people would kind of, venture off. That's why we came up with the zero waste station concept. We put those in high traffic areas, and then really worked with core nonprofits to have them serve as managers alongside us. Mm-hmm. And they helped educate the volunteers that are out there. And now we have a really, a lot less volunteers. At one point we were recruiting 1,000, and that was very hard over 7 days and other agendas and all of that. But I think with doing the Zero Waste Challenge through several years, we also are thinking, well, what do we do next? Because everyone's like, yeah, no trash cans, I get it. So this year we really pushed water, which not a lot of people really knew the water efforts we were taking at the course. So for instance, the concessions, any water that's used in there is actually recycled or repurposed into one of 1,300 portalettes on the course. And that's sustainable materials that are mixed with that too as well. So. And then we even took it another step this year. We actually partnered with BEF and changed the course campaign, and that was all about water conservation. We are having this golf course in the middle of Phoenix, Arizona, and a desert community. So it really resonated. The whole campaign was about pledges, right? So if you text 77177 or WMPO to that code, then we were driving pledges, and the simple pledge was, will you conserve water in your daily lives? And then that benefited northern Arizona's Verde River and the Colorado River Basin. So, it was a great program and a lot of activation there.
So someone says to you, and I'm sure they do often, what's the ROI on this? What's your top two responses?
ROI, I think a lot of it's really the education component, what people walk away with when they see this. You don't have to be there in person to know what we do. We activate, we communicate through social. We've tried to engage people in that conversation with hashtag Greenish Show, much like the hashtag Green Sports here. Right. And we ask them to share what you're doing at home, what are you doing in your workplace, what are you doing on your school campus to, make I guess, bigger impacts. But there's a lot of things we do. We, of course, engage customers there. Right. It's a nationwide stage to get a lot of messages out. But we also have a sustainability forum, too. That's an annual event, and we've had some leading speakers there. All, education. It's not just about the game of golf.
Okay. But at your company, they're always going to listen to a green message. Talk to somebody, perhaps more than somebody out there that's trying to make their event or build an event that is more sustainable and more green, that is not with a company that's necessarily green. What kind of basic steps could he or she take?
Definitely partner with somebody like Green Sports Alliance, right? Yep. Use the resources that are available. There's, again, a lot that goes into this. And believe me, our sustainability services team is almost known as the sustainability police during the tournament because they are going from vendor to vendor. Oh, what's this? This is not recyclable. You know the deal. But of course, most of the folks are actually very used to what to bring, to the course. We've actually had some pretty high-profile sponsors that we've had to have a nice conversation about their foam cups. And
feel free to name names.
Actually, Dunkin' Donuts was one of them, and they actually worked very well with us and went to a compostable cup. So we were happy to see that change. So there's other sponsors that get this and get why they need to do it.
Okay. Meg? We're in the area of this talk now where we're talking about programs that you've done. You wanted to highlight one at University of Colorado, right?
Yep. So kind of to dovetail off what Janette said is, we do this at the University of Colorado at all of our sporting events. So not just a tournament over the weekend, but we do it at every football game, every men's and women's basketball game. We're zero waste, and there's a lot that goes into it. And I came in, I started at CU in 2009, and the program had already been going for 2 years. And it was mind-blowing how much goes into running this program. But so we luckily were able to work with the university, not only in athletics but across campus, to create this program. But then getting back to why we're here and engaging millennials, I think over the past 2 years we've really tried to build a program that shows everybody what we're doing and also take it to the next level. You can do this at home, at work, and at play. So we're doing this, you can do it too. So I have a video of one of the of what we play in game of the RALPHIE'S Green Stampede program, and it just talks a little bit about this is what we're doing, you can do it too. And we have partners that support this program, and one of them, Eco Products, is here. They actually produced this video for us, so hopefully it's...
Folsom Field is the first NCAA Division I football stadium to commit to zero waste. And RALPHIE'S Green Stampede is shoulder to shoulder with the campus on the road to zero waste. At CU home games, all food service materials are either compostable or recyclable. On average, CU recycles or composts over 84% of game day materials. And since 2009, we've reduced the total amount of materials used in the stadium by over 23%. That saves money and helps the environment. You can be part of RALPHIE'S Green Stampede at home. Shop for products with less packaging and high recycled content. Recycle all your papers and containers. And compost your food scraps. So, what kind of buff will you be? Be a zero waste buff. Go to RALPHIE'S Green Stampede on Facebook for tips and prizes and run with RALPHIE'S Green Stampede.
So thanks. So one area we did pretty well at was educating fans at the venue. One area that we absolutely need to get better in is taking that when they're not at the venue, and then using digital and social media to keep driving that message and keep millennials engaged, and we need to get better at that.
Selling in these kind of programs cannot be easy, and you've been at it for a while, so tell me a little bit about that, because you're going across silos here, right? You have to involve increasingly the sponsorship guy. Certainly you're involving the building manager. Certainly maybe the sustainability person is the same one. Maybe there's a campus-wide person that's in that. Maybe you even get up to the president's office. I've been on some college campuses where the guy that's selling hot dogs has as much work on the athletic juice on the athletic committee as anybody. So how do you how do you sell in a program? Everyone would sort of agree, yeah, we love the environment, we want to do something green, but especially in college, it's difficult, right? It's
really hard, and as salespeople want an easy sell. They want to go in and say, here's radio, here's this inventory that we have, and buy it, and everything's going to be great. So it's very complex, and it takes a lot of time and energy to put it together on both sides, on both the university side, because there is athletics, and then there is the campus, and there is the facilities, and there's the concessionaire. There's so many people to work with, and then when you finally get it together on that side, you got to find partners that are willing to invest dollars to make it work. And then sometimes on the sponsor side, you have to work through various departments on that end. It's not just the marketing and sponsorship person that's going to push it.
There's a green budget over here somewhere that has nothing to do with the sponsorship.
Right, there's a foundation budget, there's a marketing budget, there's all these different, so you have to pull in areas from the partner side as well. So it takes a lot of work, but I truly believe that there's growth in this category.
It's not impossible, it's just difficult and different.
Exactly, and so we have to educate. Learfield represents over 100 colleges across the country, and we have to do a better job of educating our sales force. This is how you do it, and this is how it can work. So we've used CU as a case study. North Carolina is another one of our schools that did an amazing program with Reprieve, and it was a whole Turn It Green campaign where, if you guys know North Carolina, it's all about the powder blue, right? Like, you cannot have any other color besides powder blue at North Carolina. But because sustainability was important to the university president, she allowed us to do a Turn It Green campaign, and we handed out 15,000 green t-shirts that was made from recycled plastic. And so it's pretty amazing what can be done. It just takes a lot.
Okay. Hector, in trying to sell sponsorships for your E-Series team, what kind of challenges were there out there? I mean, I'm assuming you had to call on different kinds of people, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the main challenges in motorsports in general, I think folks that are on the inside trying to sell the property understand that motorsports is going through some serious challenges right now. It is a distressed industry, so finding dollars is very, very difficult. But with respect to Formula E, it's representative of something that's different, and people like different. Companies like to market and engage with a property that not only talks the talk, but it also walks the walk.
Right.
There's some innovative digital formats that Formula E as a series, as an organization, has implemented and that they're working on to improve, that has made engaging with potential sponsors that much better. And not only we're hearing that millennials are really liking the fact that they can engage directly with potentially the outcome of races through the use of what's called fan boost. So leading up to a particular event, fans through social media channels can actually vote on their favorite driver through the hashtag FanBoost through Twitter and also the Formula E app. And the top 3 drivers with the most votes for that weekend will actually get a boost of power for the event. So it's bringing it's bringing folks, particularly millennials, that are actually engaging with the outcome of an event. You can't find that anywhere else in professional sports.
You might not be able to find social media ROI anywhere else either. So.
That's exactly right. And I know that Formula E right now, the series is working on an app that you can download onto your iPad or your iPhone or Android and actually use it as a steering wheel and race against the cars as they're racing on track during a particular event. You're the ghost car, and you can race with the cars. And you know, there's some very innovative aspects to what the series is doing to bring people in that other forms of racing just hasn't really grasped onto.
Okay. Erin, you're at the roots of the grassroots, so tell us a little bit about your programs, because again, you're at the young end of that demo, and you're able to get onto campuses. Marketers have problems getting onto campuses because they have to be vetted through, again, 97 offices and get approvals. And you told me before you come through the students, and so it's not only is it authentic and legitimate, you're there before Coke and Pepsi.
Yeah, I mean, we started 10.5 years ago, and we started with mostly a high school demographic. I was in 8th grade, that was our constituency, and we were focused on lifestyle choices, on personal things. Millennials, you know, most of us still don't own homes, don't own cars, but certainly 10 years ago, that wasn't even on our radar screen. So how do you hit them with personal lifestyle choices? So we're focusing on things like body care, on apparel, on school campuses. And now we have this, you know, demographic constituency that's bought in. They're leaders, they're young people that are passionate about these causes, and they want us to come to their campus.
So you're on a campus telling them what? Choices and brands?
So we talk about first practices and then products. So first of all, you know, conscious consumerism is what we preach, but we gotta use less. Millennials get that. But also we're not set in our ways. We haven't established those lifelong brand loyalty yet.
That's why all
we're
marketers want to be
very
there.
close.
Yeah.
And we have found that real sweet spot in the going to college, that dorm experience, as one of our most powerful programs. We have one called Project Green Dorm for back to school. We just set up a bunch of green dorm rooms for different campuses as they're having tours come through, as they're sending out their checklists. So that's a great time to capture these students. But then, yeah, we do a Conscious College Road Tour every spring, and we go around the country. It's sort of like Groundhog's Day, same setup, different campus every day for 6 weeks. And we set up in the heart of the quad, in the middle of the green, with signage, with samples, with products, with infographics, with people talking. And we get these comments, how? Because it comes from us. And that's what the administration wants to hear. That's what the teachers and professors and departments want to see, young people taking it on. So we go out peer-to-peer, us to them, digitally, and then it becomes physical. So I think that one of the things I'm most proud of in our programs is that duality. We exist in the virtual space, yes, but we're real people. Hi, I'm here. And I think people forget that a lot. Marketers forget that about millennials. Yes, we might have our phones in our hands too much, dare I say, but ultimately that engagement, that face-to-face, that eye contact is really powerful. So we're in the middle and cause a bit of a ruckus in the middle of campus, and that's how we also build capacity on some of these campuses where we have our biggest chapters.
That will change when the phones, or whatever we call them, will be digital, surgically implanted, and that'll be soon.
Yeah.
Help me understand what you do on the campuses. So can I, as a marketer, buy into that? Do you have brand partnerships?
Yeah, we do. People are asking, nonprofit, how are you funded? Corporate partnerships and foundations. So we focus on 7 themes when we go to a campus, which are food, apparel, cleaning, dorm space, zero waste. Forgetting a couple, right? Hemp is one that's big, talking about hemp on college campuses, industrial hemp, real fun one. So we have information. So that's what we lead with, like you said, education, education, education. That's what's going to hook them. Those little nuggets, those facts, the statistics that you can share about, the visuals we saw before. Yes, we've heard it before. This many Olympic swimming pools, this much toxins, this many rainforests, this percentage untested X, Y, and Z. It's tweetable. It's postable. It's the nugget you can share with your roommate, your friend as you're walking along. So that sort of information, lots of facts. And then products, best in class. We're so sick of hearing no, no, no. What can we do? What are the options? What are the positives? So it's really spoon feeding people solutions, doing the work for them, putting the best in front of them. So that's products.
What kind of vetting do you do, and what are some of your biggest brand partners?
Yeah, when we first started 10 years ago, we were focused on personal care products. Mm-hmm. And we put these big drop boxes in the center of campuses. We called it Operation Beauty Drop, and had people to us their old packaging. And worked with a chemist to tally the most commonly found egregious chemicals. Didn't know what the word egregious meant at 13, quickly learned. And why they were there, the purpose, sulfactant, preservative, X, Y, and Z, and the health risk. Neurotoxin, endocrine disruptor. So that sort of scientific process goes on, I just give that as one example, goes on behind the scenes because it's really important, particularly as young people who can be easily cast off as inarticulate, ill-informed, X, Y, and Z, that we have the sound science. That's why these sorts of reports that Green Sports is putting out are so brilliant, those sorts of resources to go behind so that when the chemistry student or professor comes up and says, show me the science, you go, oh, we have it because we have these incredible partners that are doing the research behind. So I talk about safety, sustainability, and efficacy as 3 places we vet. It's safe for your body, it's sustainable for the planet, and it works. So if it doesn't work, it's going to end up in landfill, and chances are people are going to be turned off by this whole hippie, crunchy granola movement that they all thought the green movement was decades ago.
Janette, perhaps the fallacy here is you don't design a program hoping to get a green program, hoping to get millennials. You design a green program for everybody, and you'll get an inordinate amount of millennials, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, with the Waste Management Phoenix Open, we were lucky, and that is a large part of the fan base that comes up.
But you get every age there from what I saw, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got young kids all the way up to retired folks out there enjoying the tournament, but a lot of college kids come from, say, Arizona State, that's, closest to the course. And, the interesting thing is they really like to have a good time, and it's not always easy to get our messages out to some of that group, not all. We actually find millennials are really active in volunteering. Mm-hmm. They were about half of our managers at the Zero Waste Station. About 40% of the overall volunteers were millennials. Thank you. So, they're an interesting group, but we do have a green out day. Saturday every year of the tournament, for every green that you wear, $1 goes back to local charity. And so that I guess earlier this year, that resulted in $25,000 to 3 charities, so a total of $75,000. And a lot of people get really into it, and it's almost like a fashion show of people wearing green, or maybe it's subdued and it's a belt or a hat, but people actually come dressed to impress.
Just want to point out green.
I know.
Hector, maybe you get away with that.
There's some green.
Yeah,
in there.
Organic cotton.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that works. Megan, do's and don'ts. Brand X. Well, that's not the right. A brand wants to set up a sustainability, a green program. What's the first 2 or 3 things they should think about? Because I know they're being asked to do that, or they will be asked to do that really soon.
I think understanding that it's going to take a lot of work. It's not going to happen overnight is key. And I think it's being authentic is very important as well. So if a brand wants to be involved in the space, they should be picky about who they pick to partner with. Like I said, we have 100 schools that we represent. Are all 100 doing zero waste? No, there's probably a couple of us. And so I think we, as the university, event side of it, need to get better, but then the partners need to pick people that truly know what they're doing. I think that's key. I mean, and that's what, BASF is one of our partners, and the reason they partnered with CU is because we already had an established sustainability program. And I think that was smart on their part to do that. But again, we need to step up our game so that we have more to offer to these companies that want to support a program that's already working.
Okay. Erin, I understand what the payoff is for waste management for any of these programs. Are we far enough down the road now that we can say what the return is for company X adopting a sustainability, a green program? Sure, hopefully they'll see some savings. Hopefully, long term they won't be harming the environment or much, but they're going to look more bottom line first.
It's a great marketing investment. I mean, it really does.
Let's hope.
It builds goodwill, and if you're authentic, I like to say, our search engine skills are pretty good. We're living in the age of damage, so lies don't do too well with millennials. Talking about even going beyond greenwashing. Yep. But I really do think, we're very wary of who we partner with because of that. Because it looks really good to work with a youth environmental education nonprofit and going access to college campuses. So. But if you walk the talk and you make commitments, I think absolutely there's a huge goodwill to be earned, marketing, and a lot of savings to be had. We talk about, upfront, just cutting costs, cutting things out. There's so much unnecessary.
Well, since I write about sports marketing for a living, I hear the word authentic about 10 times as much as there actually is authenticity. Yeah. So in this space, what is authentic? I mean, maybe that's still developing, and you see it once again at sort of below the grassroots. What, if you're looking for it, what is it?
So I wrote my thesis on this in college.
This was not a setup, okay?
You had no idea. So you go back in time and you look at cause marketing, and it was donating money to a cause, often completely disassociated with what your mission was. Great case study, KFC turned their chicken nugget box pink, support breast cancer awareness. It was discovered that ingredient that was actually used to fry the chicken was a known link, a carcinogen. Failure. What do KFC and breast cancer research have anything to do with each other? Not much. Now you're seeing this going back into supply chain analysis and waste management as the new cause marketing, right? You do the work and you tell the story well. That's all you need.
Okay. I'm going to go to some from the audience because we've got about 3 minutes left here. How can waste management take lessons learned from the Phoenix Open to other events? This assumes you haven't already, and perhaps you have.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we work with a lot of sports teams. Hey, we get it. A lot of areas you can't do zero waste. It's not possible. You've got waste and recycling, so maybe it's diversion. We look a lot too at, the whole life cycle. So, buying less, reducing waste, reusing. Those are a lot of those concepts. It's interesting though, because I think people are really engaged around recycling and they want to do the right thing there, but we'll find garden hoses or, clothing in our single stream recycling bin, the recycling bin that you have on your curb that you put everything in. So there's these unintended consequences of that system. So there's a lot of education that comes into play as well. So we try and make sure we have messages about, greening your events, or greening your, family barbecue, or, how to be more sustainable during the holidays. So we share a lot of those things, and we find out that we really engage a green audience at the same time.
People don't know. I mean, really, millennials, there's so much confusion about something as simple as recycling. When we go onto campuses, we hear that. Please, can you tell the campus to put photos? Can you tell them to put glass boxes with examples? So really, like, rudimentary, showing people. So important.
Megan, and then whoever. Another audience question. How do you engage with low-income or low-educated fans? I guess the assumption here is that the higher your education level, the more in tune you will be with green causes. Have you found that to be true?
I think we need to do a better job at that. I mean, in my world, we live in the college and university space, right. So the students that are attending college maybe don't fall into that bracket. So I think we just need to do a better job of just engaging sports fans in general, because we do have people in that bracket. I think it's just educating, and we need to do a better job at it.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's the right answer, but we need to get better at it.
Is the assumption correct there? Less education means less in tune with.
Yeah, but as far as I'm concerned, just as much responsibility and just as much opportunity. We run a school lunch program. Students are 95% qualify for free and reduced lunch. Gives you an idea of the demographic of public school. Huge sports fans. And this is in the Bay Area. There is a pocket of Marin County that fits that demographic bracket, which is shocking to some. And we had the Oakland Athletics come there. And it was the best day imaginable for these kids. But they showed them their garden, talked about nutrition, the importance of this holistic food. We heard about it yesterday, feeding your body well, knowing where your food comes from. So huge ties, and that are relevant for everyone.
That's a great idea. I mean, you can take the brands that we have and take it out to the community. So, just now I was thinking, it's the students at the university, but our brand extends across huge communities. So how can we partner with school districts? How can we partner
Very
with?
impressionable.
Yeah, so
even younger.
There's a lot we can do.
Okay, let me wrap up, because we're almost at zeros, with another audience question that says, do you think being a socially conscious, I guess environmentally conscious for the purposes of this panel, company will become the expectation? I don't know, has it already, Megan? And then we just go down, and where's the general corporate head on this?
It's changing, I think.
Not changed completely.
Not changed completely. I think we've got a ways to go, and that's our job is to find that out, and to find out what companies can put their money where their mouth is. I feel like a lot of companies talk about, yes, sustainability is important, but when it comes to investing in programs that can make a change both internally and externally, we're not there yet, but I think we can find them.
Okay, Hector, what do you think?
I think that there's a constant struggle between a perception and reality, and at the end of the day, we can sit up here and talk about how programs that are either partners or prospects are implementing or hope to implement that are green in nature, but at the end of the day, at least from my perspective, companies are still singularly focused on the bottom line, and it's unfortunate that that's their mentality, but again, just from personal experience, that seems to be the case. Although there is a change that is fast approaching, but at the end of the day, it's what makes the most financial sense for that company, which is relatively unfortunate. But when you're talking about, at least from my experience, when you're talking about an industry as expensive, there's a large barrier to entry when you're talking about professional racing, just because it is a very expensive proposition. It does come down to ROI. It does come down to what it is that the partner wants to get out of participating with Andretti Formula E. But what we would like, what we expect is that the partner sees value in participating in something new, that at the end of the day, they are seeing the ROI, they are seeing that return on their significant investment, but at the same time, they're doing something that is affecting positive change.
Okay, Janette?
I definitely think increasingly we're moving that direction,
right.
And I think another thing that is really driving that is, as millennials are having children, the children really, you know, the young ones who are educated in school, they're bringing home a lot of information. You know, why aren't we recycling here? I see this. Why aren't we, you know, why are we buying this with all this packaging? It's amazing what they're growing up in. And so if the millennials have already started it and then the kids are reinforcing it, we actually find that that's a big area of engagement is getting to the kids because they take that information home.
Cool. Erin, as the millennial, you get the last word.
Yes, yes, also the eternal optimist. It has to be. I have to believe. You got to hold out this hope, and we're all in this room because we do believe it. But we have to be vigilant. We have to be champions. We have to keep spreading the word because it is really easy to just go back to single bottom line, particularly when the going gets rough. But keep pushing. I think as millennials also work their way up the workforce and gain power in politics and economics, things will shift. But it's not going to be an easy, you know, steady uptick. And so keep the pressure on. Keep being the champions, and you know, I always am so grateful there are people way more radical than anyone in this room to make us all look normal.
All right. Well, I'm gonna continue my green morning by taking the CTA to O'Hare. I'd like to thank you for showing up and thank the panel for the good discussion.